flexible?
Yeah, we're not greedy. Whatever we can give, we'll take.
You know, we appreciate that, flexibility, because that's one of those things we ran into after we went to all the expense of having this all looked at before, is all of a sudden, there was no flexibility among a lot of them. No, I'm not doing this, I'm not moving mine, I'm not, and there were some things in there that I thought was excess expense, like cutting that wall out, so we'd add that room to this room.
No, we're very, I mean, basically, Steve and I just require the same things. We need a desk, we need a computer, we need to be able to shut a door so we can have a private conversation, and that's really all. You know, I don't care if we're on the first floor, second, or third floor. You know, we need a place for our files, of course, and there's some other things we need, but.
Yes.
What is actually the purpose of your position? Not to be dumb, but.
Well, one of the things I get to do is I get to follow up on a lot of cases that have sometimes fallen through the cracks, and be able to take care of some investigative needs that can facilitate a better criminal prosecution, and also have an opportunity to follow up on a lot of drug arrests. I can have time to spend talking to some of the suspects in cases where they've been arrested for drugs, and maybe some lack of follow-up has been done there. Things that we just haven't had time to do before. It's a whole myriad of things that I'm looking forward to being able to do with this position. So, hope that just kind of gives you a little
It
bit
just
of-
seems very general. I mean, I have no idea exactly what you're talking about, but we went from a salary thing to now we're doing cars and insurance and offices, and there's really no history on the position.
Well,
There's no
correct. This
estimate
is a
of
totally new position,
expenses.
and this is a position that has been successfully done in other counties that now we have an opportunity to do. And I'm looking forward to the ability to do a lot of things that I've seen a lot of other prosecutors, investigators do, so.
But I guess, following up what you said, that this is supposed to be undercover, you're a pretty visible guy.
I am.
So.
Well, it's not supposed to be,
Yeah.
it's not completely undercover, but we'd like to start to work towards undercover work of some kind. You know, one of the goals is to try to curb the drug use and try to curb the drug dealing in this county.
That also
having
comes
him-
through prosecuting them and not cleaning things down.
I don't disagree.
You know, if
I
you've
don't
got somebody
disagree.
caught with money and drugs, they need to be treated as a dealer and not reduced to simple possession.
If we can prove the element, we're kind of getting way off track here,
Well,
but
but
if
this-
we can
all
prove
I'm
the
saying-
elements
My
beyond
point
reasonable
being,
doubt,
we've added a lot of
then we
money.
will.
We're
Well,
spending
now you're
a
talking
lot
about
of
something
money.
different. You're talking about forfeiture of funds in drug cases. That's
No,
a
I'm
different.
talking collectively as a county, we're spending a lot of money via a jail, your position, blah, 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 but ultimately, when it gets to the judges and prosecutors, if we're just playing everything down, we don't need either one of you guys.
Welcome to the criminal justice system.
Well, I get it, but we only have 19,000 people to fund
Right, sure.
this.
And
And
that's
we're
a
buying
problem.
cars and insurance, and you don't even
Well, you're not
know
buying
where
the
it's
car.
going.
The car's out of our own diversion fund, so that's not coming from the county. It is not funded by the county and any
But you
bit.
may not have that money next year, or the next time you need a
You're
car.
right, may not. But,
So-
you know, those things you can
That's
plan.
just-
ahead.
I wanna break into this, and the council has done, I think, an excellent job in recognizing the situation and wanting to do a better job for the people of Carroll County. They have funded this position, and all of us realize that when we fund a new position, we're gonna have to put pencils in a drawer, and we're gonna have to have paper, and we're gonna have to have a desk, and there are those things that are gonna go with any position. It's not just gonna work in a vacuum. Now, the question that came before us was about the car and the insurance. We've taken care of that. The question now is there a place that it can be? And I have always thought we have underutilized the next two offices right over here, because, and part of it is because for some reason, in ages back, the recorder's microfilm was put in that back office. Originally, those two offices were the sheriff's department in Carroll County, those two. And that's why there is a secret stairway that goes all the way from the basement to the attic out of that office. That's the security for the courthouse, was that office. We have to have an office for We have to have a private place, we have to have a place where he can do his job. There's no point in hiring a professional and not giving him the tool to work with or a place to work. I mean, sitting down in here is not gonna get it. But I think we have a very large area down there that is not being utilized for anything at this time. And it's time for, I mean, we talked it over, we turned it over to the judges and said, you tell us how you wanna do it, and they turned it back to us and said, we don't want it. It's too beautiful of a room, it should not be divided all up. And yet, sitting there empty is not a very good use for it either. So, let us think about how.
Sure, don't make
Any suggestions you have, we wanna hear.
We just wanna put it on your radar so you start thinking about it. I mean, you know, we're making do, and obviously he can use my office and we can leave. That's not gonna work all the time, but it's working for now, and we can do that and continue to kind of put that Band-Aid on the problem. But we just wanted to put it on your radar and think about it.
I think that's good, and I can tell you that for me, I'm not speaking for these two gentlemen, but for me, it's easy when I walk out to not think about your problem again until you come back in and say it to me.
Right.
So, keep it up with it,
Okay.
you know?
Will do.
We'll keep thinking about it, we'll keep working towards it. I'm not sure that I'm ready yet to give up the lounge, but I'm ready to do something.
I'm gonna give it up the lounge, we're just making it smaller.
I talked to.
We still have it.
Okay.
Came and made a comment
Yeah.
on it. I think where he needed more space, putting everything on the first floor. I think it would probably work, I'd love to see you look at it.
Okay. Be fine.
Don's going to do it.
Don will like it
He thinks
because
it'll
he can be
work
next to
out.
his first deputy and he'll have room for his files, because he's got those big papers he's gotta lay out.
Yeah.
And
Sure does.
that works out for him.
I think you said something about the recorders using that, we're using the back.
Back on. They can always make adjustments and talk to each other, hey, I'm doing
I'm
this.
just saying she needs to be included in, when you're talking about giving it up.
Right, should be.
Should be.
And also, if
They give that room.
they're giving up their space and moving it around to something else, there's two huge rooms
Right.
there that
It's
will come
right there.
available,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
that, of course, I mean, I don't even remember where the prosecutor used to be, but those used to be used for the abstract company. They were
It used to be upstairs.
It's
on the third
upstairs,
floor,
okay.
not right
All of a sudden, when the
Way
abstract
before my
company left, they
time.
said, well, let's put the,
Maybe I should put you in the basement.
Actually,
No more room. No more
the
room?
assessor's office used to be in that little room.
what did
The
the
assessor's office used to be right there.
assessor's office? Let's go back to that, we don't need to assess this much.
The assessor's.
Thank you, is
office
there anything else we can do for you?
No.
Oh, we have a question back here,
I
sorry.
would ask that if you're really gonna look at this, that you look at this as a whole, and let's do one major move and not little bits here and there. So I'm with Beth, you need to get with all of your department heads and say, let's look at this, what can we work out? Instead of moving one person, then 6 months later, somebody comes and I wanna move, I think you need to look at, don't do a study, don't spend a bunch of money but you are in charge of who goes where. Your department heads are there to assist you.
Right.
You need
That's
to make
right.
the decision.
We also have the veterans office down there is grossly overpacked, needs more space. And I just throw in one thing here, years ago, we had quite a discussion about this, and this was clear back when Barry Emerson was our county attorney. And he sat right there and pointed at that closet, and he said, if the commissioners say that closet is the auditor's office, that closet is the auditor's office.
Exactly.
Huh?
You're not going to make
And then we
everyone
free up
happy.
all these offices over here.
I just go in there and shut the door.
You're right, we need to do it all at once, but we need to do something.
So maybe we need to get all our department heads in the courthouse together and have a meeting in the evening or not.
I'm in favor of that. Okay.
we'll make ourselves available, so whatever we do.
I appreciate it.
All right, thank you guys,
very
appreciate
much.
it.
Thank you.
We'll put it
Now,
over at the highway
We can bring the
garage.
pizza. There you go.
Paul, we're ready for you,
All right,
and we appreciate you waiting there, Paul.
well, that's fine. I really have nothing on the agenda except just to bring you update on community crossings. We do have our application in.
Good.
It changed a little bit this year in that, and since it's all the same type of work, we were able to put it all in one application. Last year, if you remember right, we had 3 separate applications. So because it's the same 1.5 inch hot mix, overlay, they let us do that. The only kind of ugly thing came out of it, when you take Carrollton Road all the way from city of Delphi, put up to 1100 North, because of their mapping and the way they do it, we had to break it up into 4 segments. So we really have 6 segments in there for what we're talking about. So we got it submitted. It's up for review. That's the first hurdle. The last day for applications in is February the 6th. So we have 2 weeks here. Hopefully we'll get a review yet this week and say, you're good, we got all the boxes filled in the way they want them, and we're good to go. If not, we gotta make some correction. At least we have 2 weeks to get it resolved and see where we're at. And then, who knows, if they close application to February the 6th, maybe by sometime in March, we might have an idea whether or not we get awarded any funds or not. So, at least we're making progress.
Now, Paul, they can award either the whole thing or just parts of it, I mean, is that right? Or do they have to give all or none?
In my opinion, I think we're in an all or one situation. The way they're doing it now is one application. That's the way it looks like to me. I have not heard anything differently.
So will they get a yea or a nay?
That's what it sounds like to me.
Okay. To make sure I understand, Paul, you requested that we put, that you put up of your money, your highway department money, $333,000. And the hopeful return was going to be, besides the 333, another $1 million from them?
That's correct.
Which would give us a total of $1,333,000 altogether.
That's correct.
Okay, that's how I thought it was. Yeah. Well, we're certainly hopeful that this all goes through.
Keep our fingers crossed.
Okay.
Good luck.
Oh, good, Bill. There was something I was gonna ask you about. I'll have to call you.
Okay.
Anything that anybody has for Paul concerning the highway department? Thank you. All right, okay. Okay, Beth, you wanna start on your part there? Steve,
Sure.
what about that?
Personnel Advisory Committee has been not active, and you put it as disbanded it or something like that. I have had requests to have it reinstated. I've also had requests from Kent Irwin to have it reinstated. He is our advisor, and so that way, not just us, but like other departments that have questions, when he comes here, he could be asked instead of going through us also. It'll give them an opportunity to speak to the head honcho, more or less. So I just want you to think about maybe reinstating the Personnel Advisory Committee. And it would be helpful for our office, but it also would be helpful for the other department heads. And other employees, it doesn't have to be a department head that comes in. If they have a problem, then they can come in here and voice their opinion, and we have Kent Irwin here to advise us on how to do that. So it's just a suggestion for you to think about reinstating that, but not asking for
Okay,
this.
I have questions for you about that.
Okay.
How would it help your office?
It would help us, because a lot of department heads would rather hear it from Kent Irwin than from us.
Why does it have to go through a personal advisory committee, personnel advisory committee to get his opinion?
Because a long time ago, we had a lot of, department heads and everything calling him, which every time you call him, it's
That's a bad
costly.
deal.
Right.
That's the bad deal. But if he would come on a, like, every other month basis, or if needed, then he would be here, it'd be a one-time deal, and they could hear it from them instead of us. And it would help us by answering questions also that we have in front of the department heads. It's a
How is that
public,
better than it just coming to the commissioners?
because it involves,
Some of it's personal.
right,
Issues.
and maybe they don't want to come in front of you.
Personnel, I always say, personnel advisory committee is public,
Right, it is.
so.
But it goes through different steps. I mean, a lot of people will, like the council, it has to, you know, if we have a new job, or if we have a new job description, you know, there's different ideas out there from you three, the council, the department heads. I'm just the messenger for
Oh,
it.
that's fine, I just want to hear.
Yeah.
It doesn't
But I
take the
do-
pressure off her, and the way I see it is everybody goes to her office. And.
Which they probably would still do that.
Still do.
But, I'm just thinking that, I know that they do not have the expertise on this, but they do have opinion from our county government wise. You know, being a
Who's they?
citizen, the Personnel Advisory Committee.
It's
So-
probably almost time to update our books anyway, it's been over 5 years.
Comment?
I think what you're kind of describing is like a human resource director.
No, that's not what I'm describing at all. No.
And why is that, why is it not, what is the difference?
This is a personnel advisory committee that advises the department heads or our office to respond to them. And a lot of times, if I respond to a certain people, I'm not saying certain people, certain department heads especially, they do not want to hear what we have to say, more or less.
So the
But if they
committee is
hear it
more
from
or less
Kent
for
Irwin-
Department heads, not
If-
so much employees.
No, pardon?
So the committee you're just discussing is more or less for the.
No, it's for any employee of Carroll County.
Used to
That they-
have,
that they
well,
come
the
in.
auditor, commissioner, council, and two, and one in the courthouse and one from the
That's
highway.
exactly right.
I'm
Outside
just
of-
saying it's something to think about, see if you would want to do that, to help out, the employees, that they can come and voice their opinion. If it doesn't go any further than that, they might just be able to get an answer that they understand better maybe, or is from the higher ups than the auditor's office. So, it's just something to think about.
Could be that.
Yes,
So, my question is, when you say, because I know we have a human resource person right now, but if someone was to bring up a complaint such as, and I'm not saying this is happening, but like sexual harassment or something, they would bring that to our HR person now?
Our HR person is Cecily and myself. It's the auditor's office. Cecily is the HR assistant. Yes, they go to her first, and if it involves something with her or anybody that she's related to or whatever, then I take over that part. Yes, they come to us, and immediately then we contact Kent Irwin.
We've had an issue similar to this already, and it's kind of smooth, but I think it could go smoother in another direction. It takes kind of the pressure off of one person doing it.
A few people in the courthouse have talked to me about this issue, and their concern is that they have to go through the auditor's office, and they feel that there is a lack of privacy, and that if they do have a problem or something, that they want someone that is not associated with already the department, that they want such as a human resource person that is like a mediator. And a lot of human resources also are helping with hiring, firing, insurance. When you get hired in, you do hire in, and I'm not sure that we have that. And in this day and age, with as many people as you're gonna be hiring and the swinging door and the insurance changing and all that, I think a human resource person that is outside of the auditor that would answer to you like you asked why they do not come to us, I believe that human resource person should come to you and not be directed to the
I
auditor's
think by
office.
law though, it's part of the auditor's office, right?
Yes.
Human resources is part of that, but when we had before issues of potential sexual harassment like that, the buck lit here on this desk. We had to take care of it.
I thought we did a wonderful job.
Yeah, he's gone.
On his own accord.
What?
He left on his own accord, you might want to say.
I guess, the thing I would just say is that I sat on this committee for many years before. And
You guys did the advisory board, the personnel board.
what about it?
That's when you guys had all those meetings.
And
Well, yeah, it
actually-
was a very laborious and time-consuming situation, but most of the issues, it seemed like came up to me, I mean, it seemed to me like they just passed over to here anyway.
Right, because they don't make the decisions, and we don't have to have that committee, maybe every other month, we could have Kent Irwin here, if needed, and have a meeting with the department heads. We don't have to be involved,
Maybe
he
we
could
just
sit
put
here and talk to the
three of us.
department
Maybe
heads.
Be the personnel advisory committee since it comes to
Well,
us anyway.
The Personnel Advisory Committee had no power to do anything, all they were was an advisory to us. And so, sometimes they would advise and we'd say no.
Right.
And then there were times that we got real good advice from them too.
Well, and actually, sometimes they didn't wanna go against their cohort either, you know?
Sure.
And so they would pass it on. That way, I'm not against not having the committee, and then maybe having Kent come. And, let them know that this is the day that he's gonna be here, you know?
Okay, now, let me just
That might be
ask
a
you
good
about that,
idea.
is he just here for an advisory, I mean, he is here, do we have to be here for that meeting too, or?
No, I'm just saying that if so-and-so has a problem, they think they're not getting their hiring and firing instructions, that they can come in and say, hey, I'd like to talk to Kent Irwin, we'll have him come in. I mean, there's a lot of different things that go on with an HR. It's not just,
Yeah.
I mean, we have our rules that we go by when we have someone hired in, and when they're fired, and what to do if we do get a sexual harassment claim. We have all those informations that we do, and the first thing we do is contact Kent Irwin, Ted, and you three.
I just think we just need to be, the three of us with the auditor, be the advisory. Ever since we make the decisions anyway, we meet every quarter, so if someone's got a complaint, they can come to us. It'll be a,
I'm in agreement with you, yeah. Oh, you're following the rules and coming to the podium, okay.
I guess I have a question, first off, so you made a statement that you felt like the human resources had to be by law underneath the auditor,
It falls to the auditor.
falls to
Yes.
the auditor.
Yeah,
I know-
there is no human resources, function defined in the Indiana code, and anything that isn't defined in the Indiana code as being the responsibility of an office, it falls to the auditor.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure you weren't confusing payroll,
No,
the task
no.
of payroll with HR. So you could have an HR representative,
It could have, yeah.
and I just,
Huh? We did this before.
I would be in full support of, reinstating the personnel advisory board, provided that they provide the following services. They manage the staffing process, including recruiting, interviewing, hiring, new employee orientations, exit interviews. They ensure job descriptions are up to date with all state, local, and federal regulations. They develop training materials and performance management programs to ensure employees understand their job responsibilities. They create a compensatory strategy for all employees based on market research and pay surveys, keeping strategy up to date, investigate employee issues and conflicts and bring them to resolution, ensure employee performance evaluations are completed, ensure compliance with local and state federal safety regulations such as OSHA, administer the organization's benefits programs, retirement programs, policies, wellness programs, insurance programs, research and analyze benefits plans and programs and policies, serve as liaison between the insurance brokers and the employees, manage the enrollment, renewal, and distribution process, ensure training and compliance regarding workplace harassment, assure compliance with Drug-Free Workplace Act, and conduct background investigations for criminal convictions. But I don't think it's very realistic for this board to carry out those responsibilities. These responsibilities could and should be the responsibility of, there are a lot of responsibilities, it's a big list. And I think there's shortfalls here, understandably, because we have an auditor staff of 4 people. There used to be an auditor staff of 5 people, that was reduced to 4. And this, I think, is what, these things right here are items that I think don't get done. So, I really think you should consider, in lieu of a personnel advisory committee and making phone calls to Kent Irwin, which spins the meter every phone call, installing a human resources person, representative for the county to make sure these items get addressed and taken care of on a regular basis. If there's a problem or an issue, that there's a person, that a department head or a county highway employee or the janitor can go to that person with their concerns and not wait for a personnel advisory meeting or to talk with Kent Irwin. I think it's very important that you consider that. Thank you.
Sure. Do you want, have we discussed this, we'll go to the next item?
It's okay. I do know that a lot of things on that list have been done. And if a department head or an employee comes to our office, it's been, we call Kent within a day. I mean, it does not just stay on the back burner. The other thing too is, as of last Thursday, I have been okay to get my first clerk, so I will be having another person in the office. I had to wait on technicality on the salary ordinance, so, and to be honest, in the auditor's office, there used to be 6 people in the office, when I was auditor the last time.
Now there's 4.
Now there's 4. So, anyway, if you'd like to move on.
I think so, yes.
Okay, so lawn maintenance contracts, I just, I have not been approached, I just want you to know that we need to get started on that, so
Well,
do you want?
we did the option of 2 years, if he wants to keep it the same price, I'm in favor of keeping who we had, cause I had 0 complaints. 0 complaints.
Well, we have 2, so I wanna call both of them and ask them if they want, I mean, is that for the other guy too?
No, it was in the contracts that when we did it, that he had the option to do 2-year contract. So,
Which
if, Craig
he
wants
is
to do
talking
2 years.
about my son, Craig Myers, with his CNC Enterprises. He has not contacted me about doing that, but if
Right.
he wants to do the 2-year,
Yep, he's got the option to do
okay,
it.
but we have somebody that does, Deer Creek Park too, so is it,
I think that was part of the 2-year contract too.
okay, both of them?
Yep.
So do you want me to contact them and find out, or do you want them here?
Just say that they would do it's fine with me, because I don't wanna go through all that again.
Amen.
They had the option, right?
Huh?
That's just a moment. That's just a moment.
Okay,
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I know.
Throw a wrench in the rear.
Probably overstepping my bounds here, but I just want to throw this out here. I think, personal opinion only, that, snow removal and mowing of the courthouse lawn needs to be farmed out to whoever does the rest of our county mowing and snow removal, because it takes the janitor out of the courthouse, and they neglect neglect their duties inside because they have to spend all summer mowing and weeding.
And that's when they have their part-time people come in and help assist with that. I think Eric did a wonderful job cleaning. He didn't understand the outside part of it. And I think
in
who we
the
hired was good to be able
summertime,
to
when he
do.
was out mowing, it didn't get cleaned as well though. And there was a lot of stuff neglected because he was mowing a lot.
That would be the custodian's issue if their employees are not doing their jobs.
Okay, so complain to them instead of you.
Well, you have
I
to
didn't
start.
hear that, what'd you say?
Complain to the
So complain to
custodian.
them instead of you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the custodian, I mean, he's in charge of those people, just like, you know, you're in charge of if your employee wasn't doing their job, you need to step in and say, hey, this is not being done, please do it, and give them a warning, and then you start the process of writing them up.
Well, I just wonder how much it would cost to have somebody else mow the yard.
Didn't we do that one time, have somebody,
we did.
yeah, have somebody mow this, and I forget why we
But I don't know
stopped
why.
doing
Because
that.
it costs too much.
Maybe we could call Tobe and see if he could throw somebody that's in jail to come mow the yard. Just a
They
thought.
won't even mow their own yard.
And that's kind of a safety issue.
Just a thought.
So anyway, I kinda agree with her on the snow blowing, maybe not here at the courthouse, but we have a problem at the Carroll Manor. So,
That was her issue.
okay, all right, I won't go there then. So, I will contact them. Let's see.
If they don't want to renew them, then we'll have to start the process all
Okay.
over again.
Commissioner sale. I have been asked several times by our SRI guy to put this commissioner sale on the agenda and also get him a date. Well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 properties that could go on a commissioner sale. I believe we're down to 3 actually, because several have been on the tax sale and the commissioner sales before. Some of them have been sold, then we take the taxes off, and, you know, they bought it for $100 or whatever, but then they never go to tax deed. So then it's back on.
We never go to what?
They don't follow through. They find out that, oh, I don't want that property, so they don't go to the tax deed to get a tax deed. So,
How far
one of
off?
them might be landlocked, so I'm believing we're down to about 3. And I'm gonna say that the manpower that takes the time into that, and, the time of year, I don't know what Melinda thinks, but I don't think 3 properties getting back on a tax sale that might not ever go to tax deed again. It's just, you know, some of these are familiar names. So
I've got a couple of them are in Kent.
I'm not sure about
So if you want to even set a date somewhere in July, is that plenty of time to do that, or are you just saying not do it at all?
that. I'm saying not do it at all, I don't know what
Well,
Melinda.
I don't know, it doesn't really take time on my end. What time are you talking about, Beth?
Well, it takes time to research it and contact the neighbors and everything else, but,
Who does that, SRI or you?
we do the neighbor part, I believe, if I remember right. But I just think 3 properties is not really worth it, and we're taking money off of them, and then, you know, it never goes back on because they've never gone to tax deed. So, I mean,
Are there other benefits besides getting them back on the tax roll? Like, maybe a property might get cleaned up if it has a new owner?
but it hasn't been done, is what I'm trying to say, on the others, so I don't know. Tara looked into one of them, and she believes it might be landlocked, which wouldn't be able to be sold anyway, so it's up to you, whether you want me to, I'll do what.
What's your opinion, gentlemen?
What's that? Depending on where the properties are.
I guess if I live next door to the property, it's all a mess. I want it to be sold and like that, but I don't know if any of those fit that category. So, maybe we ought to look at your list and actually drive out and look at them. See if we could, we think there's anything worth it. What do you think, Steve? Is that all right?
I think that's
See if
ought to do too.
Okay,
If you would provide us with that list.
sure will, that'd be great.
Okay, next item?
Custodian interviews.
I think we have a lot.
You have 10 that applied, and I have them all copied for you to take home and look at. But I just need to know, when do you want to interview?
I like to at least go a few days to go through all those.
Um, That would be an executive session, or
For-
would not, to interview.
Yes.
So we need 48 hours, but I'm gonna be honest, we need somebody in here as soon as we
Pretty quick.
can.
Right.
We just-
Things are sliding downhill.
Right.
Well, and so is, they're not used to being in charge.
Right.
And so,
There used to be
I
told
don't
to do
know
this
a
and do
thing
that.
about the boiler, and I have gone down there twice, so.
Did you fix it?
No, but I called Shane Chapman. I mean, I just, you know, when there's a leak, I told him, don't call me if the bathroom starts flooding, you call Steve. So, but, you know, I know they're very anxious, and it would be nice to have somebody as soon as we can, so.
Well, I like to have 2 days to go through them, and
Okay.
after that, we can pick out the ones we want to interview.
Yep.
Or call Angie, she's the health department, we'll call Angie,
For what?
if the toilet breaks.
She's good with a plunger.
There you go. I'm just,
Well,
what,
along that line, I know that she's been sweeping the steps and stuff like that out here, because they haven't been getting swept.
well, you gotta also remember that they don't work a full day,
Yeah, I know.
so.
Right,
We're
we'll
short on staff, so.
do half days.
I think we talked about the hours, and I sat down with both of them, we made a new, kind of a new list for this week, and then, because they had some conflicts.
Okay.
I appreciate all you've done there to
That's okay.
try to manage that situation.
Yeah, I involved Mike in one of them, and got a leak downstairs, but,
But whatever you think, gentlemen, when you wanna,
Let's see, today's the what, 20th?
go ahead.
We can do Thursday afternoon, that's, I'm sorry, guys, it's my vacation time when it's gone.
we also have to remember that these people might not be able to come in.
Right, well, and if they have other jobs too, so they won't come, they'll come in during the day.
Right. Mhm.
If we're looking very far out, I am 30th to 31st, right?
Your book. Can we do the 23rd? Give us time
Sure.
to, you know, just a couple days, look at them, and
I can do it.
23rd, just to say who we want to interview, and after that, we can, then the following week.
Oh, wait, are we gonna have a meeting back together to decide this, or?
Well, I think we need to review them. We got 10 apps, and we pick out the ones you think are gonna be fit, and if we agree on a bunch of them, or 3 or 4, and those who we interview.
I think that's good, but how do we do that? We have to have
You'll
a
have to have a
special,
meeting.
We'll have to have a
Special meeting.
Special meeting. That'd be on the- Was that enough time to do it on the 23rd? At 4? To
Well,
review,
just to look at them,
to look at the apps? To say, this is who I would like, and compare notes with theirs? Because we can't do it.
yes,
If you had a human resource director, they would do that for you, and then bring the good ones to you.
I mean, there's one I don't agree with you on, because I think we need to go through it and look at those applicants and do the first culling of them, because, yes,
This is a perfect opportunity for outsourcing your
outsourcing.
janitorial,
No.
your janitorial.
I don't want to do that.
Expensive.
We're responsible for the courthouse. I don't wanna hire somebody outside and then have, I am absolutely opposed to any more bureaucracy than we have to have in any way, and I don't. Whoever's in that spot works for this board. They don't work for Steve, they don't work for me, they don't work for Warren, they work for this board. And I don't wanna have to talk to the president of a company who talks to somebody else, who talks to the person who's the local representative here. No.
I would just, this is my only opinion, as
Sure, go
someone who
ahead.
dealt with outsourcing. the amount of time you're gonna spend interviewing and training, and if you have no retention, you'll go through at least $40,000 per employee real quick.
I don't believe so. Have a different opinion.
I say
He
we,
is looking up something real quick before you,
Go ahead.
but yeah, just for us to,
that we could.
for us
move
to
on
take a
from
moment,
that.
look at them and pick who we would like, then we meet for like 20 minutes.
You wanna meet on Thursday?
Yeah.
Well, hang
If
on a minute,
possible.
he's
sure.
looking at something else right now, can we just move on to the next
Sure,
subject?
move ahead and come back.
Thank you.
Are we ready for, yeah?
What I would like to throw something in, just to make mention of it, is the agricultural land left in Carroll County area, needs to be talked about, as far as
At the
getting
next
the lease for this year.
Oh, yes, because it's been 2-year leases up, isn't it?
From my understanding,
Yeah.
So at the
we need
next
to
meeting,
figure out what's there left to be leased out.
And I would like to throw a wrinkle into that. Remember, we have somebody who would be interested in part of that land. And so, huh?
Yeah,
We
need to
get
get the ball
that
rolling.
Ball on
What
that.
we have to do, I believe, we'll have to ask Ted about this, is to get appraisals done of each property there.
I'm sorry.
Okay, while we're talking, Lauren has brought up, we have a little 6 acres, 7 acres, whatever it is out here by Carroll Manor to be leased out. We usually generally in the past leases on a 2-year term. However, we have a gentleman who is interested in buying a portion or all of that land. And in exchange, he's interested in us buying or acquiring his land that adjoins the highway department floor. So, to work this land swap and everything, we have to have appraisals done of both properties. Now, my question to you is, does he pay for the appraisals on his property and we pay for the appraisals on ours? How does that work?
The appraisals are done by, the governmental entity needs to do their own appraisals.
For both properties?
Yes, on both purchasing and selling and exchange of whatever. Now, he may wanna get his own appraisal.
Sure.
But we can't rely on his, so that we have to, basically, we're responsible for paying for our own appraisals.
Okay,
And
and those
threshold-
appraisals, one of them can be from the auditor's office and the other one?
Well,
Or not auditor, but assessor.
there's a different law on disposing of real estate than there is on acquiring, so, so one of them is an average of 2 appraisals, and the other one is, two appraisals, and you use the, higher one, or lower one, I can't remember which right now. So, you can have them appraised by the same appraiser, so they're all thinking alike. And, yes, I think that you can qualify one of those as being somebody like your assessor could be one of those appraisals, I believe.
In either case of selling or buying property?
Oh, well, I need to look at it, because they're in different parts of the Indiana code, I just need to look it up. But, yes, you have to have appraisals, you have to furnish the appraisals on both acquisition and disposition. And I think, I think one of those persons, one of those appraisers can be, a governmental employee that's familiar with real estate, and the assessor would be the obvious choice.
Okay, well, where we are on that right now is, it came into Christmas and all that, and he said, let's just wait till after Christmas. Well,
Okay.
we're after Christmas.
One of
It's time for-
one of the other things to keep in mind is, I don't remember if it's, I think it may be on acquisition. The council has to adopt a resolution, of interest. They don't, say, anything more than we're interested in it. The approval, of the process actually done by the commissioners, but, they should probably, what we've done in the past for the ambulance station, we've, asked the council for a resolution of interest in acquiring this, and, selling this or trading this, and ask them to approve the commissioners going ahead and engaging appraisers.